share a little bit about how the inner source work is structured within BBC? Like, do you have a central group or organization, for instance, like an OSPO, OSPO being Open Source Program Office that a lot of companies have? So, is there a central organization like those groups who's responsible for, researching the practices, rolling them out, giving people guidance, coordinating any kind of work? Or is it more distributed within the company?
Yeah, it's very much distributed. I talked about the early days of our inner source and how we got together and put together this open development framework. So we do still have that kind of community of practice around inner source and open source, where we try and get people who are invested in these practices to come together to put together documentation and learning resources and things like that. But the actual implementation of inner source programs, we don't have it centralized. I know a lot of companies do, and as I say, again, go to the inner source commons to see some great stories around that. And those companies that do have ISPOs, inner source program offices, or if their OSPO is spending time on inner source, they can kind of get that broader view and maybe find some of those projects that are suitable for broader adoption. And I think that can really help with scaling in a source. But no, the way we put a lot of value on team autonomy and also individual autonomy. So, trying to make the engineers and the first and second line managers really feel invested and empowered to do what they need to do. So there's loads of benefits of that team autonomy, but I think there is such a thing as too much autonomy. You get too much divergence, and you lack that alignment. So yeah, we're generally quite dependent on the local groups of engineering teams to choose to implement inner source, rather than there being a kind of centralized office that's promoting it and enabling it. So the kind of grassroots communities around it are great for sharing stories and sharing knowledge and try and build up what we find is best practice for us. But yeah, the actual projects are kind of decentralized, and we rely on those grassroots movements really more than anything centralized.
So it is kind of a conscious-ish decision that you don't have the central organization being responsible for any parts of it.
Yes and no. I think because our adoption of inner source came from the grassroots rather than coming from a kind of top down strategic play. Um, I talked about DevOps and continuous delivery. We do have centralized teams around that to enable that, because it was a bit more of a top-down strategic play. I think as time goes on, I talked about platform engineering and the intersection with inner source. Potentially, we might invest in a centralized inner source team, um, alongside platform engineering to enable collaboration at scale. But yeah, nothing so far.
But it kind of sounds like that implementing that central organization would be to be more efficient in doing inner source versus what you said about I think it was CI/CD and DevOps. That was a bit of a top-down thing to implement company-wide.
I think um, I think it's scale. I think when my kind of experience of collaboration in general is that it does often depend on your org chart. You are much more likely to collaborate with somebody if you have a couple of levels up the management tree, if you've got the same manager, you're more likely to collaborate with them. It's kind of similar to Conway's law in terms of software architecture, matching your org structure. I think, yeah, potentially your collaboration structure also matches your org structure. So I think there are opportunities that we miss by relying on that local management structure for collaboration. Um, there is some cross departmental collaboration and inner source, but I'm sure there are bits that we're missing because we don't have that centralized group.
Yeah, it's harder to get done. Yeah.